Let us help you reach your peak in retirement. It's time for Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee.
Everybody, welcome into the podcast. Time for another edition of the show. It's actually episode number 81, Sean. We are cruising.
Holy cow.
Yeah, we are cruising right along doing these podcasts, hopefully sharing some fun and useful nuggets of information with you guys when it comes to investing, finance, and retirement. And it is late January. We're talking about things you can control and those that you can't. And that is a whole lot of stuff in the world. So let's try to look at this through the lens of, okay, let me affect the things that I can affect and go from there. You doing all right, my friend?
I'm doing great, man.
Yeah?
Doing great.
Yeah, how's your couple of weeks been?
It's been good. Just got back from Red Sox fantasy camp.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Was it awesome?
Always is.
Always awesome, huh? There you go.
Always is.
Yeah, I imagine you're looking forward to, what is it, I guess March things start to really heat up, and then April's when it kind of cuts
February
loose.
12th.
February 12th.
Yeah, that's when pitchers and I think it's the 12th. That's when pitchers and catchers report.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll be talking plenty of baseball soon. So for now, I'll keep him away from it, folks, and we'll get into these things that you can't.
I'll talk
control.
hours about it.
I know. So I got a few things on this list here, Sean. Look, and there's so much stuff in life. Obviously, the last 2 years, right, that we can and can't control, and been pretty mind-numbing in a lot of ways. So let's look at some financial stuff and try to frame the conversation to the point where we can do something. So obviously the market, right? We're at this point, at this time when we're recording, we're still on technically a 12-year going into a 13-year basically bull run. Mm-hmm. It's had some dips and some divots along the way, but overall it's still pretty much up for 12 years. You can't control what it's going to do, when it's going to finally, take the final beating and have a prolonged downturn or whatever, but we can control how much we're exposing ourselves to it and the hit we might potentially take.
Exactly. I mean, you look at if you want to take the risk of the market, just buy an S&P fund and be in it and follow the indexes, right?
Right. Or
a Dow Jones index and follow it. You're not going to be able to control what the markets do. It's just the reality of it. I can't. I wake up in the mornings and I look to see, what's projected in the futures, and then how's the market looking throughout the course of the day and what data's come out, and that's about all I can do. I can't really control.
Yeah, I mean, even like the indicators, right? I get at this point, it's 12 years. Typically, bears and bulls, there's typically bull markets are typically 5 years?
Yeah,
on average. So this thing's totally blown all the stuff out the window.
Well, and you see, we've had a great economic run.
Sure.
And I don't know that that's necessarily over with. I think that COVID has changed things and we'll continue to see a pretty decent economic run.
Right.
With the caveat that there's a lot of kind of unnerving factors that are out there as well. But at the end of the day, the things that you can control when you plan, and all these things come back to actual planning and building an actual strategy. You can control your volatility levels. And it comes down to, first and foremost, understanding where your volatility currently lies.
Yep.
And then 2, understanding, is that comfortable for me and my plan? If it is, great. If it's not, and you're not able to accomplish the things that you want in your plan based on the volatility that you've got, then it might make sense to make some adjustments.
Right. I mean, you're talking risk. I mean, we were just mentioning baseball. You can use any kind of sport you want. If you are ahead, if you're in pretty good shape in the game, why are you continuing to, swing for the fences, right? You're going to start changing your batter strategy and your pitching strategy if you're winning the game. So,
well, yeah, if you're up by a bunch as a pitcher, you're trying to pound the strike zone. Like you want to move the game along.
Yeah, get them out.
And same thing with, I don't want to say that you want to move the game along in retirement, but you want to have a strategy that's going to be pretty consistent and allow you to do the things that you want to do.
Yeah. So it's easier to look at it from the hitting side, right? You're going to be more safe. You're going to be more tactical with trying to just get on base. Base runs are good, right, in retirement, right? Which is basically you kind of look at it saying, keep ahead of inflation, have some stuff out there so that you can stay ahead of that, but don't be trying to, Mark McGuire it and swing for the fences, right, and knock it out of here. So
yeah, I mean, home runs,
they're sexy,
right. But singles and doubles win ball games.
There you go. See, I told you we'd do baseball. All right, so things you can't
always back to
baseball. Things you can and can't control. Number 2, you can't control how long you're going to live for the most part, but you can't control how much emphasis you create or put on creating the income streams that you'll need. At the time we're doing this, we've lost a few big celebrities. Obviously, Betty White being the big one. She made it to 99, just shy of her 100th birthday. Granted, she's had a long career, made a lot of money, but still, idea, right? You might could live to 99. So do you have income streams in place to get you there?
Right. And it comes back down to how you plan. Do you want protected money? Do you want market-based money? Do you want a combination? But I tell people that's the one thing that you can't control within reason. There's
right.
You can control how long you live, but you can't control realistically how long you live.
I mean, you can try some things, right? But although she was funny because she said she drank a glass of vodka and had a hot dog every day.
Oh yeah, man.
But she also worked until she was 95.
She's a national treasure,
right?
White.
Like our unofficial queen.
I know, but at the end of the day, plan as if. And what I say is, if you don't think that you're going to live to be 80,
right?
Well, plan to be 90. And the reason that I say that is if you plan to be 90 and you make it. Great, your plan still worked. If you plan to be 90 and you don't make it,
right?
Great, your plan still worked.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some health issues, and I'm only 50, and I'm falling apart faster than a Dodge Dart. But but I'm planning. I might not make. I don't think I'll make it much into my 70s, but I'm planning financially in case I'm wrong, right? So if I'm 80, I'm not sweating it, right? So
and my wife's gonna. She's long going to survive me,
right?
And I want to make sure that she's taken care of.
That's the other side. Yeah, exactly. So again, control what we can control. Number 3, taxes. Okay, there's been all this hoopla the last 6 months about what's going to happen. They didn't get anything done because they're gridlocked, and it's going to probably continue into the 22 as they continue to argue about this, that, and the other. So even if they do nothing, Sean, we know that taxes are going to hold tight for a few more years. So control what you can control and be tax efficient and prudent now, because they got to go up at some point whenever it is that they get off their duff and agree to something.
Well, just be thoughtful about it. And far too often I see people that will come meet with us for the first time or whatever, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I just did a big Roth conversion of 150 grand." Hey, what? Why?
Okay.
How does that fit your plan? And so there's all this financial marketing out there about, oh, you got to do Roth conversions or this or that. And what I'd say from a tax perspective is, yes, I can't control what tax rates are going to do in 5 years, 10 years, 15 or 20 years.
Right.
But be thoughtful in the steps that you're making right now to prepare yourself for 10, 15, 20 years. If it makes sense from a tax perspective to do some Roth conversions,
right?
Great, let's talk about that. We may find that the way that your incomes are structured, you don't really need to do a whole lot of Roth conversions, and you're unnecessarily paying taxes right now. So when you look at tax strategies, whether it's Roth conversions or LERP plans or strategic withdrawal plans and incorporating Social Security, be thoughtful and take some time to make those decisions. Don't just jump into, well, I converted 150 grand. Well, I don't know if that helps you or hurts you.
I mean, if you had the money to pay the taxes, I guess great, but did you need to, right? Did you bump yourself up or whatever the case is, just to get it done, and it wasn't the right move? And maybe it's not even just for you. Maybe it's also just being tax efficient for whatever you plan to do with the money when you're gone, like who you plan to leave it to. So
right.
Lots of ways. Although, I don't know what the LERP plan sounds like something you should apologize. Excuse me, I just LERPed, Apologize for that. Very interesting term sometimes with these things. All right, one more. Social Security. So, again, same thing, political poker chip, whatever you want to look at it, whatever lens you want to look at it on. You can't control what's going to happen to it, but you can determine what kind of role it's going to play in your retirement. If you didn't do a lot of planning and you don't have a lot saved, it's going to play a bigger role, so you're going to have to definitely strategize. Or if you did plan really well and you've got quite a bit, it's still not a bad idea to strategize, especially if you're married, on what's the effective way. Don't just run it down to crank it on just because you think they're going to run out of money.
Yeah, use Social Security as a strategic tool. Leverage the government's money so you don't have to leverage as much of yours.
Right.
And
pretty simple.
There's a lot of concern about Social Security being there, whatever it may be. There's a lot of scare tactics out there. The reality is that Social Security is the ultimate kick the can down the road type program. Our politicians will tweak it just enough, make it healthy just enough to kick the can down the road and let somebody else generation deal with it.
Exactly.
And so the reality is that Social Security is one of those things that it is a social benefit. I get it. But when you start to think like financially about COVID, and this is one thing that it's a little bit morbid, and I'm being respectful of what's happened in our country, but the majority of the 700,000 or 800,000 Americans are 65 plus that have passed away, and that's a terrible thing. From the financial side, that's 600,000 to 700,000 Americans who are no longer collecting Social Security from the government either.
Right.
So there's a financial piece to that, and now it's not going to fix the Social Security problem, but there will be some things that are done down the road to alleviate the pressure that's being put on Social Security. But I think it's going to come in multiple facets.
Well, and they wind up, if you could look at it with that kind of lens, but then you could also, which they do, they go, but there's also, with all these people not working and the great resignation and so on and so forth, there's also a lot of people not pumping in,
Right.
feeding the system. So it's a catch-22 where we're just kind of in this cycle, but we've been in this cycle for a while. And so there's a lot of things that we societally have got to change, and we're at this kind of weird precipice. And one of them, or multiple of them, could happen all at once, or they're trying to convene and happen all at once, and that can cause big problems. So making sure you've got a strategy in place and making sure that you're looking at, there's all these universal things that affect us all, like Social Security or like longevity or lack thereof, but everybody's got the same kind of universal truths, but how the puzzle pieces work per person is completely different. So that's why you that's why you got to sit down and have a conversation, folks. So hopefully these are some things that you realize you can, and you can control to a degree. You can't control the big picture, but you can control your personal narrative within it. So do yourself a favor, get on the calendar, have a conversation. If you haven't done so already, talk to Sean, reach out to him and the team at Elevated Retirement Group. Find the podcast online. Just simply go to whatever app you use, like Apple or Google or whatever. You can just type in Retirement Elevated in the search box of that app and find it that way. Or you can stop by the website, retirementelevatedpodcast.com. That's retirementelevatedpodcast.com. Sean's the managing partner at Elevated Retirement Group, serving all around Utah and clients all over the place, but you also have clients outside of the state too. So a little bit of everywhere. So Sean, thanks for hanging out, buddy. I appreciate it.
Awesome, brother. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we'll talk more investing, finance, retirement, and a little baseball on the next podcast. We'll see you next time.
Investment advisory services offered through Elevated Capital Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.